Nessa Veal had interviewed 73 different species about their reproductive habits, but none had made her hands tremble quite like this. The human sat across from her in the sterile white interview room, his dark eyes watching her with an unsettling mixture of amusement and curiosity. Marcus Webb, according to his file. Age 32. Trade negotiator for the Terran Commerce Guild. Single. That last detail she'd noted with purely professional interest. She told herself. So, Marcus said, breaking the silence that had stretched perhaps a moment too long. You want to know about human sexuality? Nessa's lavender skin flushed a deeper purple. Reproductive biology, she corrected, her silver eyes fixed firmly on her datapad. Specifically, I'm conducting a comparative study on mating frequency across sentient species. Mating frequency. He leaned back in his chair, and Nessa caught herself noticing how the movement stretched the fabric of his shirt across his shoulders. That's a clinical way of putting it. I'm a researcher, she said, finally meeting his gaze. Clinical is rather the point. Marcus's smile was slow and warm. Of course. So what do you want to know? Nessa pulled up her notes, grateful for something concrete to focus on. According to preliminary data, human males are capable of engaging in reproductive activities daily, sometimes multiple times daily, for extended periods. That's accurate, but that's impossible. The words burst out before she could stop them. Nessa set down her datapad, her scientific composure cracking. Every other species has mandatory recovery periods. Talverian males like those of my species need at least 5 days. Corvaxians need 3. Even the notoriously vigorous Stellan males require 48 hours. How can humans possibly? She caught herself, took a breath. How can you possibly sustain such frequency without breaking? Marcus's eyebrows rose. Breaking? Your reproductive organ, Nessa said primly, though her cheeks burned. The physical stress should cause tissue damage, inflammation, loss of function. Yet human medical literature suggests no such complications from regular activity. It contradicts every biological model I've studied. Well, Marcus said, and there was definitely laughter in his voice now, I can assure you that human men don't generally break. We're quite durable in that department. But how? Nessa leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her embarrassment. Is there some kind of rapid cellular regeneration? A specialized support structure? Enhanced blood flow regulation? Nothing so exotic. Marcus seemed to be enjoying her confusion far too much. We're just built for it, I suppose. Evolution favored males who could mate frequently. That's not an explanation, Nessa protested. That's just restating the phenomenon. What kind of explanation are you looking for? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. What was she looking for? The question had consumed her research for months, ever since she'd first encountered the human data that seemed to defy all logic. She'd written papers, conducted simulations, built theoretical models, all trying to understand how one species could be so fundamentally different from every other known race. I suppose, she said slowly, I'm looking for proof. Empirical evidence, not just statistics and self-reported data. Marcus's expression shifted, something warmer entering his eyes. And how exactly would you gather empirical evidence? The implication hung in the air between them. Nessa felt her hearts, both of them, beating in tandem in her chest accelerate. That would be highly irregular. Research protocols require. I'm teasing you, Marcus said gently. Though I have to admit, I've never had anyone quite so interested in the mechanics of my sex life. It's not your sex life specifically, Nessa said quickly. It's human biology in general. You're an anomaly. A fascinating, frustrating, completely inexplicable anomaly. Most people just call me charming. Despite herself, Nessa laughed. The sound surprised her. She'd been so nervous about this interview. so worried about maintaining professional distance. But Marcus had a way of putting her at ease, even while discussing topics that should have been awkward. "I'm sorry," she said, recovering her composure. "I don't mean to treat you like a specimen. I don't mind." Marcus leaned forward, mirroring her posture. "It's refreshing, actually. Most of the aliens I meet either avoid the topic entirely or make crude jokes. You're genuinely curious. It's nice. Curiosity is rather my job." "Is that all it is?" The question was soft, almost casual, but Nessa heard the real inquiry beneath it. Pure scientific interest? She should have said yes. Should have maintained the professional boundary between researcher and subject. But something in his eyes' kindness, maybe, or genuine interest made her hesitate. "I don't know," she admitted. "I've been studying humans for 6 months now, preparing for this assignment to Haven 7. Your species is ... complicated, contradictory. You're violent but compassionate, logical but emotional. And your approach to intimacy and relationships is utterly unlike anything I've encountered." "How so?" "Most species separate reproduction from pleasure," Nessa explained, grateful to return to academic territory. "Mating serves a biological function, nothing more. But humans seem to have evolved past that. You seek intimacy for its own sake, form pair bonds based on attraction rather than genetic compatibility. Engage in sexual activity purely for enjoyment. You say that like it's strange." "It is strange," Nessa insisted. "It's beautiful, in a way, but completely strange. Talvarians mate once every 5 years during our fertile cycle. The act itself is brief, functional. We form family bonds through mental connection, not physical intimacy. That sounds lonely." The observation startled her. "It's not lonely. It's normal. It's how we've always been. But you've never wondered what it might be like? To want someone not because biology demands it, but just because you want them." Nessa's breath caught. The way Marcus was looking at her suggested this conversation had drifted far beyond academic territory. "I'm wondering now," she admitted quietly. A smile played at the corners of his mouth. "Good. This is inappropriate," Nessa said, but she didn't look away. "You're here for an interview." "I'm supposed to be gathering data." "You are gathering data," Marcus pointed out. "Just maybe not the kind you expected." "What kind of data is that?" "The kind that suggests maybe humans aren't the only ones capable of wanting someone for no logical reason." Nessa's hands trembled as she reached for her data pad, desperately trying to regain her professional footing. "I should. We should continue with the standard questions." "All right." Marcus settled back in his chair, giving her space. "Ask away." She pulled up her prepared list, though the words seemed to blur before her eyes. "Human pair bonding typically lasts how long?" "That varies. Some relationships last a few months. Others last decades. Lifetimes even. And the frequency of intimate contact within these bonds also varies. Every couple is different. But generally, humans who are attracted to each other tend to want frequent physical contact, especially in the early stages of a relationship. Why?" Marcus considered the question. "Because it feels good, obviously. But more than that, it's a way of connecting, of expressing things that are hard to put into words. Trust, desire, affection, all of that gets communicated through touch. Talvarians communicate through mental links," Nessa said. "It's far more efficient." "Maybe, but there's something to be said for inefficiency. For taking your time with someone, learning what makes them sigh or shiver or smile." Nessa's data pad slipped from her suddenly nerveless fingers. Marcus caught it before it hit the table, his reflexes quick. Their hands brushed as he handed it back, and Nessa felt a jolt of something she couldn't quite name. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked. "Yes, I'm just... This interview isn't going as I planned." No? He was smiling again, that warm, knowing smile that made her heart race. How was it supposed to go? More professionally. We can be professional if you want. But I think we both know there's something else happening here. Nessa wanted to deny it. Should have denied it. But she'd spent her entire life pursuing truth through science, and she couldn't lie about this. Perhaps, she conceded, but I don't understand it. We've only just met. This isn't logical. Welcome to being human, Marcus said softly. We're not always logical about attraction. I'm not human. No, but maybe you're not as different as you think. He stood, and for a moment, Nessa thought he was leaving. Instead, he moved to the window that overlooked the station's central garden. I've been on Haven 7 for 3 weeks now, negotiating trade agreements. It's fascinating work, but lonely. Then I got your interview request, and I have to admit, I was curious about you too. Nessa joined him at the window, maintaining a careful distance. Curious how? The Talvirian researcher who studies human sexuality. I wondered what kind of person chooses that specialty, what they're really looking for. Knowledge, Nessa said automatically. Just knowledge? She watched the artificial sunset, painting the garden in shades of gold and amber. My sister says I'm looking for something I don't have words for yet. She thinks I'm fascinated by humans because they've found something. Talvirians haven't a way to be intimate that doesn't require mental gifts or biological imperatives. They just choose each other? And is she right? I don't know. Nessa turned to face him. Maybe. Marcus met her eyes, and the moment stretched between them, full of possibility. For what it's worth, he said, I think your research question is important. Understanding how and why humans form the connections we do, that matters. But maybe you can't fully understand it from the outside. What are you suggesting? Nothing inappropriate, he said quickly. Just that if you really want to understand human relationships, maybe you need to experience one. Not as a researcher, just as yourself. I'm not human, Nessa reminded him. No, but you're curious. And brave enough to ask questions that make you uncomfortable. That's more human than you might think. The station's evening chime sounded, marking the end of the workday. Nessa realized with a start that they'd been talking for nearly 2 hours. I should go, Marcus said. You probably have other interviews scheduled. Actually, you're the last one today. Then maybe ... He hesitated, suddenly less confident. Would you want to continue this conversation over dinner? No data pads, no formal questions. Just 2 people getting to know each other. Every protocol Nessa had learned screamed at her to decline. Researchers didn't socialize with subjects. Professional boundaries existed for good reasons. But Marcus was right about one thing. She couldn't understand human connection from a distance. Yes, she heard herself say. I'd like that. His smile could have lit the entire station. Good. I know a place in the market district that serves food from 6 different worlds. We'll find something your biology can handle. As they left the interview room together, Nessa realized her research had just taken an entirely unexpected turn. She still didn't understand how humans managed their remarkable endurance, but she was suddenly very eager to find out. The restaurant Marcus chose was tucked into a quiet corner of Haven 7's market district, where strings of bioluminescent plants cast everything in a soft, ethereal glow. Nessa had passed this place 100 times during her months on the station, but had never ventured inside. Now, seated across from Marcus at a small table near the window, she wondered what else she'd been missing while buried in her research. Try this, Marcus said, pushing a plate toward her. It's from Earth. We call it fruit salad, completely safe for Talvirian biochemistry. I checked. Nessa speared a piece of something golden and sweet-smelling with her fork. The flavor burst across her tongue, bright and unexpected. Oh, That single quote's wonderful, right? Marcus grinned, clearly pleased with her reaction. Humans don't just mate frequently. We also eat for pleasure. It's a theme with us. I'm beginning to notice. Nessa took another bite, savoring it this time. Talvarians consume nutrition paste 3 times daily. It's efficient and provides exactly what our bodies need. But does it make you happy? She paused, fork halfway to her mouth. Happiness isn't the goal. Health is the goal. What if they could be the same thing? Marcus asked. He wasn't eating, she realized. He was watching her discover these flavors with an expression of quiet delight. What if taking care of yourself could also bring you joy? That seems indulgent, or maybe it's just living. He finally turned to his own plate, something with aromatic spices that made Nessa's nose twitch. You Talvarians are brilliant, everyone knows that. Your technology, your mental capabilities, your scientific achievements. But sometimes I wonder if you're so focused on efficiency that you forget to actually experience life. Nessa set down her fork. Is that what you think I'm doing? Missing life? I think, Marcus said carefully, that you're here, 6 star systems from your homeworld, studying a question that fascinates you. That takes courage. But I also think maybe you chose to study human intimacy because some part of you wonders what it would be like to feel that way. Heat crept up Nessa's neck. That's a rather presumptuous analysis. Is it wrong? She wanted to say yes, wanted to retreat behind her professional walls, and explained that her research was purely academic. But something about the gentle way Marcus asked, without judgment, with only genuine curiosity, made her pause. I don't know if it's wrong, she admitted. Talvarians don't really want things the way humans do. We're driven by logic, by intellectual pursuit. Physical desire outside of our mating cycles is considered unusual, almost aberrant. Do you think it's aberrant? I think. Nessa traced the rim of her glass, watching the liquid inside catch the light. I think I've spent my whole life being told what I should want, what I should feel, what I should be. And then I started studying humans, and suddenly I was reading about people who just choose, who pursue connection, not because biology demands it, but because they want to. And I thought, what would that be like? To want someone so much that logic doesn't matter? Marcus reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of touching hers. A question, not a demand. Nessa looked at his hand, larger than hers, the fingers blunt and strong, and felt something flutter in her chest. Slowly, she closed the distance, letting her lavender fingers intertwine with his tan ones. Like this, Marcus said softly. It's like this. The contact sent warmth radiating up her arm. Talvarians touched. Of course they had hands, after all, but it was functional. Guiding, directing, occasionally comforting a child. This was different. This was touch for its own sake, and it made her want to lean closer, to discover what other simple contacts might feel like. Your research question, Marcus said, still holding her hand, about human endurance. Can I tell you what I think it's really about? Please. I think you want to understand how humans can be intimate so frequently, because you're trying to understand desire itself. How it works, why it matters, whether it's something you're capable of feeling. Nessa's breath caught. That's remarkably insightful. I've been negotiating trade deals for 8 years. You learn to read people, to understand what they're really asking for beneath the official requests. His thumb traced small circles on her palm, and Nessa found herself mesmerized by the sensation. So here's my counter-question. Have you considered that maybe you can't understand human desire by studying it? That maybe you need to experience it? I'm not human, she whispered. No, but desire isn't a uniquely human trait. It's just that humans have built our entire culture around acknowledging it, celebrating it, pursuing it. Most species treat it as something to control or suppress. We've decided to lean into it instead. And that's why you can ... Every day? Multiple times? Marcus laughed, the sound warm and rich. Partly. But it's more than just physical capability. It's about wanting to connect with someone, to be close to them, to make them feel good. When you genuinely desire someone, your body responds. The more you care about them, the more you want them. It becomes a cycle. A positive feedback loop, Nessa murmured, her researcher's mind automatically categorizing the information. Sure, if you want to be technical about it. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. But it's also just ... nice. Being wanted. Wanting someone back. Expressing that in ways that feel good for both of you. The restaurant had grown quieter around them, other diners finishing their meals and departing. Nessa realized they'd been talking for over an hour, their food mostly forgotten. She should have felt anxious about the time, about the work waiting back in her quarters. Instead, she felt reluctant for the evening to end. I should probably let you go, Marcus said, echoing her thoughts but not releasing her hand. You must have early experiments tomorrow. Actually, I cleared my schedule. The words surprised her as much as they seemed to surprise him. After our interview, I realized I needed time to process the data, to think about my research direction. And have you? Thought about it? I'm thinking about it right now. Nessa took a breath, feeling as though she stood at the edge of something vast and terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Marcus, would you? That is, I was wondering if you might be willing to. Yes, he said simply. You don't know what I was going to ask. Doesn't matter. The answer is yes. Despite her nervousness, Nessa smiled. I was going to ask if he'd be willing to help me with my research. Not as a distant subject, but as an active participant. I want to understand human desire, but I'm beginning to think you're right. I can't understand it from the outside. Marcus's expression grew serious. Nessa, I need you to be sure about this. Because if we cross that line from researcher and subject to something else ... there's no going back. I don't want you to do this purely for science and then regret it later. What if it's not purely for science? Then I need to hear you say it. Nessa met his eyes, those warm brown eyes that had been watching her with such patient interest all evening. I'm attracted to you, she said, forcing herself to be as honest as she'd always been in her research. I don't fully understand. We've only known each other for a few hours. But when you touch my hand, I want you to touch more of me. When you smile, I want to be the reason for it. And when you talk about desire as though it's natural and beautiful, rather than something to analyze and categorize, I want to know what that feels like. That, Marcus said, his voice rougher than before, is the most scientific confession of attraction I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I don't know how to. Don't apologize. It's perfect. You're perfect. He stood, still holding her hand, and gently pulled her to her feet. Walk with me? They left the restaurant and wandered into the market district, now quiet in the station's artificial night. Overhead, the ceiling panels displayed a simulation of Earth's night sky Marcus's doing. She suspected a small touch of home. The false stars glittered above them as they walked, hands still linked. Tell me something, Marcus said. Something that has nothing to do with research or biology or any of that. Just something about you. Nessa considered the question. I have a sister, Kira. She's older by 6 years and infinitely more confident than I am. She's always telling me I think too much, that I should just let myself feel things instead of analyzing them to death. She sounds wise. She's also mated with 3 children and a thriving career as a stellar cartographer. So she's probably earned the right to give advice. Nessa smiled at the thought of her sister. When I told her I was coming to Haven 7 to study human sexuality, she laughed for 10 minutes straight. Then she said, finally, maybe you'll actually meet someone interesting. And have you? Met someone interesting? They had reached the station's observation deck, a transparent dome that offered a view of the stars, the real ones, not simulations. Nessa turned to face Marcus, hyper-aware of how close they stood, how the starlight caught in his eyes. Yes, she said simply. Marcus raised his free hand slowly, telegraphing his intention, giving her time to retreat if she wanted. When she didn't, he cupped her cheek, his palm warm against her skin. Can I kiss you, Nessa? Her heart's hammered in her chest. I don't know how. Talvirians don't. We don't do that. Then I'll show you. Just follow my lead, and if you want me to stop, just say so. Okay? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Marcus leaned in slowly, so slowly, until his lips brushed against hers. The contact was feather-light, barely there, but it sent electricity racing through Nessa's entire body. She made a small sound of surprise, and Marcus pulled back slightly. Okay? He asked. More than okay, she breathed. Again, please. This time when he kissed her, it was firmer, more confident. His lips moved against hers, teaching her the rhythm, the give and take. Nessa's eyes fluttered closed as she let herself sink into the sensation. Her hands found his shoulders, needing something to anchor herself to as the world seemed to tilt around her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing harder, Nessa felt fundamentally changed, as though some question she'd been carrying her whole life had finally been answered. So, Marcus said, slightly breathless, still want to understand human endurance? Yes, Nessa said. Then more boldly, tonight. His eyes widened. Nessa, we don't have to rush. I'm not rushing. I'm choosing. She took his hand again, holding his gaze. You said humans pursue intimacy when they want someone. Well, I want you. And I want to understand what that means, what it feels like, where it leads. Will you show me? Marcus searched her face, clearly looking for any sign of doubt or uncertainty. Whatever he saw there must have satisfied him, because he smiled that warm, devastating smile and nodded double quotes. Yeah, he said. Yeah, I'll show you. They made their way back through the quiet station corridors to Nessa's quarters. Her hands shook slightly as she entered the access code, suddenly aware of what she was inviting. Not just physical intimacy, but vulnerability, trust, the unknown. The door slid closed behind them, and Marcus turned to her in the soft light of her living space. Hey, he said gently, we can just talk if you want. Or I can go. There's no pressure here. I know, Nessa said. And she did know. That certainty, more than anything, told her this was right. But I don't want you to go. I want to feel what you described. That cycle of wanting and being wanted. I want to understand it from the inside. Then come here. She crossed the space between them, and this time, when Marcus kissed her, she was ready for it. Ready for the heat that built between them. For the way his hands settled on her waist. For the realization that she wanted those hands to move, to explore. To discover her the way she wanted to discover him. Bedroom? Marcus murmured against her lips. Nessa took his hand and led him through the doorway, her heart's racing but her resolve steady. Whatever happened next, whatever she learned about human endurance or desire or connection, it would be real. Not data in a file or statistics in a study, but lived experience. And as Marcus pulled her close again, his hands gentle but intent, Nessa realized that maybe her sister had been right all along. Maybe it was time to stop analyzing life and start living it. The soft glow of Haven 7's. Artificial dawn filtered through Nessa's bedroom window, painting everything in shades of rose and gold. She lay tangled in sheets that smelled of unfamiliar cologne and her own lavender-scented soap. Her body pleasantly sore in ways she'd never experienced before. Next to her, Marcus slept peacefully, one arm draped across her waist. Nessa studied his face in the gentle light, the strong jaw now relaxed, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his chest rose and fell with each breath. She felt simultaneously exhilarated and terrified by what they'd shared. Her research question had been answered, certainly. Human endurance was as remarkable as the literature suggested more so. Actually, given the emotional component she hadn't fully accounted for. But somewhere in the night, between gasped breaths and whispered discoveries and moments of profound connection, the research had stopped mattering. What mattered was the way Marcus had looked at her as though she were the most fascinating thing in the universe. The way he'd been patient with her inexperience, teaching her with gentle humor and genuine care. The way he'd held her afterward, stroking her hair and asking if she was okay, if she needed anything, if she felt good about what they'd done. "I can feel you thinking from here," Marcus mumbled, his eyes still closed. "Your brain is so loud it woke me up." Nessa couldn't help but smile. "Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you." "You're not disturbing me." He opened one eye, squinting against the light. "But you are definitely overthinking something." "Want to share?" "I'm trying to process what happened. And—" He pulled her closer, tucking her against his side. "What's your scientific conclusion, researcher?" "That I was asking the wrong question all along." Nessa rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady thump of his single heart. "I wanted to know how humans could be physically intimate so frequently. But the physical part isn't what makes it remarkable. No, it's the emotional component. The trust required to be that vulnerable with someone. The way desire builds, not just from physical stimulus, but from genuine caring. You don't have extraordinary endurance because of biology alone. You have it because you've learned to connect intimacy with emotion. Each act of physical closeness deepens the emotional bond, which makes you want more physical closeness, which deepens the emotion further. It's elegant, really. Beautifully efficient." Marcus chuckled, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Only you could describe last night as beautifully efficient. I didn't mean—" Nessa lifted her head to look at him. "It was also overwhelming and intense, and unlike anything I've ever experienced. I just meant that I finally understand why humans approach intimacy the way you do. It's not separate from emotion for you. It's an expression of it. And for Talvarians? For us, it's purely biological. A function to be completed during our fertile periods. There's no pleasure involved, no emotional connection. We bond mentally, through our telepathic links, not physically." She traced idle patterns on his chest. "I used to think that was superior cleaner, more rational. But now, ... double quotes? Now I think maybe we're missing something important." Marcus caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. "I'm glad you let me show you, even if it was officially for research purposes. About that." Nessa bit her lip. "I don't think I can publish any of this. It would require being honest about my methodology. And somehow, I slept with my research subject. Doesn't seem likely to pass peer review." "Probably not," Marcus agreed. "Does that bother you?" "It should. I've been working on this project for months, but—" She met his eyes. "No, it doesn't bother me. Some things are more important than publishable data. Like this. Whatever this is between us." Saying it aloud made her feel exposed, vulnerable in a different way than the physical vulnerability of the night before. "Marcus, I know we've only known each other for a day. I know this probably seems illogical to you too, but I don't want this to be just one night. I want to know where this goes." His smile was soft and genuine. "That's the most human thing you've said since we met." Is that good or bad? It's good. It's very good. He pulled her up until they were face to face. Because I want that too. I'm here on Haven 7 for another 3 weeks. I'd like to spend as much of that time as possible getting to know you. Not as a research subject. Just as Nessa. Just as Nessa, she repeated, testing the words. Then, more confidently, I'd like that. They kissed, slow and sweet, and Nessa felt the desire beginning to build again. That same heat from the night before, but familiar now, welcomed. Marcus clearly felt it too, because he groaned softly against her lips. We should probably get up, he said, not pulling away. You probably have work. I definitely have meetings. Probably, Nessa agreed, kissing him again. Although, Marcus murmured, his hands beginning to wander, didn't you say you cleared your schedule? For processing data, not for row. His mouth had found the sensitive spot just below her ear, the one he'd discovered sometime around midnight. That's not fair. All's fair in love and research. He nipped gently at her neck, and Nessa felt her rational mind shutting down in favor of pure sensation. Besides, don't you need more data points? For the sake of scientific rigor? That's a terrible justification. Is it working? Nessa pulled him closer, her answer clear without words. Research could wait. Meetings could wait. The rest of the station and all its demands could wait, right now. She had more important things to explore. And as Marcus's laughter mingled with her own breathless gasps, as they discovered each other again in the soft morning light, Nessa realized that her research question had led her exactly where she needed to go, not to an understanding of human endurance, though she'd certainly learned about that, but to an understanding of herself, of what she wanted, of what it meant to choose connection over logic, emotion over efficiency, living over merely existing. It was the most important discovery of her life, and it had nothing to do with science at all.